Hey, yeah, welcome back to or welcome to my channel. I'm Courtney, otherwise known as Courteggy, and today I've got a shell challenge by MySixSims. She's opened it up to everyone and is going to be touring them on her YouTube channel on the 4th of October. So it's open to everyone. You just have to use the hashtag MySixShellChallenge01 and just share that to the gallery, and then they also want you to share their creations on Twitter or Instagram as well. I'll link their channel down below so you can keep an eye on when that's happening if you do decide to participate. So with this, it kind of took a little bit of a hot second to work out what I wanted to do, especially with the roofs and stuff, because it's quite a funny shape and it's also a tiny home. But I decided to end up going with this kind of like Oasis kind of style inside these glass roofs, and I wanted to make like almost like a biome kind of thing, like a natural biome of full of plants, and that's why I use this kind of like hexagon shape as well on the glass roof. And I just fill that area with plants and then use windows going into the roof to let light in. So there's like, it's just almost like a complete glass panel on the front. And about midway through, I decided that I wanted to just make this build using Tiny Living and the base game, because the creator of this shell had pack restrictions on as well. But I decided to take it a little bit one step further and just use Tiny Living, base game, so it's a little bit more accessible. I was going to use the new Eco Lifestyle pack, and I use it a lot lately, but I decided against it and decided actually just to stick with the base game and the one stuff pack. And there's plenty of stuff in Tiny Living, so it wasn't exactly a challenge at all, and it works really well in the small spaces. It's just I really love the style of the Eco Lifestyle stuff, so it was quite hard to not use it. And in a similar sense, I really want to have, I like using a lot of the renewable energy sources. I really love using them in all my builds at the minute, even just for I think it adds to the gameplay a little bit and it makes it a little bit more exciting and a little bit more challenging, which I kind of enjoy. So one of the rules with a shell challenge is you're not supposed to add any exterior walls. I did add some like small half walls to give the roof a bit of a trim, so I'm hoping that's allowed. And then I also added some fences to create little pergolas to add a little bit more to the shape. Again, hoping that's allowed. I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't really change any of the exterior at all other than adding those little trims. And that's mainly to make a little balcony at the front, and it still doesn't count as any of your tiles when you don't close off the fencing or the walls. So it's not added any more tiles at all, so it's still sticking to that 89 out of 100. So out the front, I really wanted to have fun with the landscaping, and I even made like a little pond to the right hand side a little bit later on and blended that in. And then I used some items from Debug to add a little bit extra detail. So I added like a little bridge, imagining if it was a pond and you could maybe step up onto it. I mean, it's a very small pond, so you probably wouldn't have something, but I thought it looked kind of cute. If you want to access Debug, by the way, I know not many people use it at the minute, but it's literally just bb.show_live_edit objects and then bb.show_hidden objects, and that unlocks all your like skill reward ones. But Debug is really good for like landscaping when you're on a budget and that, and also finding some kind of cute items that can be used. Although I did a pack restriction, I didn't actually give myself a budget, because even though I probably should have, but a lot of the Tiny Living items are actually quite expensive, I think, compared to like some of the other items that we've got in packs recently. They've been like reducing the prices, especially on things like doors and windows. But Tiny Living has quite expensive items. But other than that, because I knew I wanted to have this really nice like natural like oasis-y kind of feel, I didn't want to restrict myself on budget, so I could have lots of like lush landscaping at the front. It seems to be a theme in terms of my builds. I seem to enjoy having lots of landscaping everywhere, and I've just started out this massive project on stream recently. So if you don't know, I stream on Twitch kind of a couple of times a week, and I'll do building and gameplay challenges. So the build that I've just started on Twitch is actually this 50 by 50 kind of like eco lifestyle community, and it's got a few different houses, and I spent about 4 hours building the other day, and I just did all the exterior and shell on that, and I didn't even finish with the landscaping. And I just think I might need to tone it down a little bit sometimes. I think it's a small addiction maybe in terms of building. So because it's a tiny home, it's when I'm like moving the camera and that to try and see what I'm doing, it does get a little bit dizzying. So I did try and cut out as much of that as I can. So I hope it's not too bad. It's a lot harder to do a speed build and make sure you're not getting lost in rotating the camera. So hopefully it doesn't give everyone whiplash. So downstairs, I knew kind of roughly what I wanted to do with the floor plan, and I knew I wanted to have like a normal size bathroom because it's the 100 tiles, you've got the space for it. And I didn't want to have to use the shower from university that's literally hasn't got the walls or anything. So I wanted to make that just like a normal size bathroom. So I ended up making it a little bit bigger. But in terms of the floor plan, I knew roughly what I wanted to go where and how I wanted it to flow. So I even managed to create this mini office space that's just next to the kitchen and has all this like nice natural light. And speaking of light, some of the shadows that come through from that roof hexagon are just so gorgeous. They're just so pretty. Like they create these really nice shadows in game. I actually kind of want to play in this house to see them all in their like full glory, because I feel like in build mode you don't see them as clearly as you do when you're playing your game, especially at kind of like dusk and dawn as well in the game. They just always look so lovely. And because there's like 2 at the front and 1 at the back, they appear on both sides of the house, so you'll get like that nice pattern no matter what time of day it is. Excuse my voice a little bit, I've been chatting loads lately. I think this is the most I've spoken at all since like lockdown. I mean, I live with my boyfriend, so like one other person, so I only talk to him, and I'm just not used to talking this much. So please bear with me if my voice starts to go a little bit. I loved using that table for the first time in ages. I haven't used that for a while. I think it's because it's not actually under tables, it's under like miscellaneous surfaces. So I always forget about it, and then the other day when I was building I saw it and I was like, okay, I'm going to remember to use that in my next build, and then it worked out perfectly just using this pack with the tiny living stuff, so it worked out quite well. And I think it always looks really sweet, and it adds like a second like level, so everything's not kind of at the same level and looks like flat, if you like get what I mean. So you can see how big the downstairs like footprint is just because of the fact that I've been able to include a tiny island in this tiny house, which is a very, very rare occasion, I think. And then as soon as I place that rug down, I end up going with this really bright blue colour scheme all the way throughout. So a lot of the like headline and like champion pieces from the stuff pack were that blue and yellow kind of colour scheme. And I thought I wanted to stick with that, and I felt like it was really bright, especially in the small space and where I'd done the dark kitchen. I wanted that like really bright pop of colour, and then I also add in like feature walls in that blue as well later on. Because I have a tendency to kind of just use like the same colours and use just like wood tones and blacks, because like, that's like my personal preference. So I'm just trying to like use a few more colours in my builds. Like that's why I kind of use the brown on the outside to make it look like this natural, almost like mud hut kind of. You could just imagine it's like a little bit of like an eco kind of house where it like keeps its heat in. I don't know if you've ever watched like a program like Grand Designs or something like that, but that's always a thing that happens. And I just end up inspiring a lot of my builds from there. I also think it would have been cool to build this house like half underground as well. That would have been it's kind of got a really cool shape to be able to do that. But I wanted those roofs on the front instead. So I had a few ideas when I was doing this, and I definitely recommend doing this challenge if you enjoy building. Because sometimes the shell is the hardest thing to do, because unless you know exactly what you're going for straight away, it's very hard to think of the full exterior. So just about to go upstairs and furnish that, but I added in the exterior, like the brickwork that was on the exterior, because I wanted to add a little bit more texture, so it wasn't just like a flat white wall. But because it's a tiny house, you probably won't play with your walls completely up all the time. So I didn't want to kind of do too many patterns or too many things on the walls, but I felt like that just added a little bit of like extra detail to it. And that's why I removed the blinds as well later on, because they always stay in your game, and like when you're like in game, and I don't know, something that bothers me. I noticed that a lot of my builds are very much influenced by my own personal gameplay, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. As I was going through, I really wanted to add a keyboard in here, and then I remembered it's from City Living. So in the end, I just swapped it out for a speaker and a guitar and a violin. And then there's an easel on the front, and there's a chess table in the back garden, and a bar, and so it's like quite a big like entertaining space outside. I imagine the Sims that maybe lived here they like to keep themselves to themselves, but if they have guests over, they'll have like a big garden party with like barbecue and drinks and that. And again, I also wanted to use the lights from either City Living or the toddler stuff pack. They're just like the string lights. I think they're so sweet, and they make your garden feel really cozy. And I've been using them a lot lately, and then when I realised I couldn't use them in this build, I was like heartbroken. But in the end, I was trying to get lost for stuff to do, because I realised like in Tiny Living, they don't really give you like many activities or any new skill building things. Obviously, it was just about the house decoration, which I think makes the pack quite strong anyway, because you end up with like loads more items. But then I was like trying to stuck for what to put in the garden, but I think in the end, like, I used the hot tub as well. I've been putting that in all my builds lately, if I'm going wild with the garden. But in the end, I think it looks quite cute. It doesn't look too cluttered, and there's like a few different like things to do. I find like, especially in my gameplay, I always use lots of skill building items and put them on my lot, so I don't have to leave, because it's just a loading screen sometimes. I'm like, I can't be bothered dealing with that today, and in the end you just like never leave your lot, and that's why my lots are always so like extra furnished and that, and decorated, and have these really nice gardens, because I like to feel like my lot is like fully complete. Anyways, we're about to come to the end of the build. I'll pop some screenshots in, and thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also drop a comment if you're going to be attempting this challenge. I will link it down below, and have a lovely morning, evening or afternoon wherever you are, and I'll speak to you soon.